You can be strong and still be depleted, not because you are weak, lazy, or unwilling to work, but because your strength is being consumed by activity that never requires your distinctive contribution. That is the contradiction many people are living. On paper, you are productive. Your calendar is full. Your responsibilities are handled. People describe you as dependable because when something must be done, you do it. Yet privately, beneath the deadlines and completed tasks, a question keeps disturbing you. What is all this activity actually accomplishing? You are moving, but you are not certain you are advancing. You are useful, but unsure whether your usefulness is organized around the contribution you are meant to make. Now, be careful. Exhaustion is not a revelation. Fatigue alone does not prove that you are in the wrong assignment. You may be carrying an unreasonable workload. You may be working under damaging conditions. Your health may require attention. Your body may simply be collecting the rest you have repeatedly refused to give it. Sometimes the answer is not a new direction. Sometimes the answer is sleep, support, boundaries, treatment, or a more honest conversation about capacity. So we will not diagnose your life from one emotion. We will investigate. The interest people have shown in the connection among drifting, exhaustion, and work that feels unsent tells us that this tension is real and widely recognized. But recognition is not proof. A shared feeling can open a serious question. It cannot answer that question for us. Write this down. Exhaustion is a signal to examine, not a command to escape. Busyness measures activity. Assignment measures the contribution that activity is organized to make. Those are not the same measurement. A person can complete many tasks and still leave their deepest capacity largely undirected. Another person can face demanding, inconvenient work and still know that the difficulty serves a contribution worth making. That brings us to the controlling question. What evidence distinguishes a difficult, true assignment from an impressive but distracting opportunity? Because everything hard is not wrong, and everything attractive is not right. Some work exhausts you because it is misaligned. Some work exhausts you because it matters, because you are growing, or because you are carrying it without the discipline and support it requires. We are going to answer this responsibly. First, we will separate three words that are often confused: employment, gifting, and assignment. Then we will complete a four-part audit of energy, recurring problems, demonstrated competence, and meaningful contribution. After that, we will bring the evidence together in a decision test and design a low-risk experiment. You will not be told to abandon necessary work or make an impulsive resignation. Say this to yourself: activity is visible, but assignment must be discerned. Misassignment is now a possibility, not a verdict. And before frustration begins pretending to be revelation, we need precise definitions. You cannot evaluate your work accurately until you distinguish being employed, being gifted, and being assigned. Let us separate the words. Employment is a compensated arrangement. You agree to carry defined responsibilities within certain boundaries, and an employer agrees to provide compensation in exchange for the value you deliver. Employment answers the question: what work have I agreed to perform, under what conditions, and for what return? It is an arrangement, not your entire identity. Gifting is different. Gifting is a capacity, a recurring pattern of ability that enables you to produce value. It may appear in the way you organize, explain, design, repair, lead, listen, build, analyze, or create. A gift can be developed through practice, strengthened by discipline, corrected through feedback, and applied in more than one environment. You may carry the same capacity into a workplace, a household, a community, or a project. But capacity alone is not assignment. Potential is not yet contribution. Assignment is the responsibility to direct capacity toward a particular need. It concerns the problem you are accountable to address, the people you are responsible to serve, the contribution you are positioned to make, or the season that requires your attention. Employment tells you the arrangement. Gifting tells you what you can carry. Assignment tells you where and why that capacity should be directed. Keep the distinction clear. A paycheck can confirm an employment agreement without defining your gift. Ability can reveal capacity without identifying its proper direction. And a meaningful responsibility may exist before anyone offers to compensate you for it. Now, these three can overlap beautifully. Your employment may require your strongest capacity and direct it toward a contribution you consider meaningful. When that happens, Livelihood, ability, and responsibility reinforce one another. They can also overlap partially. Your job may use some of your capacities while providing the stability, relationships, training, or resources that allow you to serve an important need elsewhere. Or they may remain separate for a season because you are preparing, learning, recovering, supporting others, or developing competence before assuming greater responsibility. Do not despise employment because it does not perfectly express assignment. Necessary work is not inferior work. A job can serve people honestly, train your judgment, strengthen your discipline, sustain your household, and finance future contribution. Partial alignment is not automatic failure. The danger begins when temporary separation becomes permanent. Unconsciousness when you stop asking where your capacity is being directed simply because your income is secure. Take a page and draw 3 columns. In the first, write, "What pays me?" List the responsibilities and value exchange of your present employment. In the second, write, "What am I unusually equipped to do?" Record patterns of ability, not fantasies or flattering labels. In the third, write, "Whom or what am I responsible to help?" Name the people, problems, needs, or season that may require your contribution. Then study the page. Where do the columns overlap? Where are the gaps? Do not condemn the gaps. Identify them. Clarity does not demand an immediate exit. It demands an honest account. And here is the next difficulty. Intelligent, capable people can succeed impressively in the first column while remaining uncertain about the third. Success may prove that the arrangement is rewarding competence while quietly postponing the question of contribution. That is how misalignment can hide beneath advancement. The arrangement is successful, the capacity is genuine, and the rewards are visible. Income increases, promotion follows, your name carries weight. People praise the value you produce. These are legitimate goods. Receive them with gratitude, but do not ask them to answer a question they were never designed to answer. Income tells you that value is being exchanged. Promotion tells you that greater responsibility or trust has been granted. Visibility tells you that people are noticing. Praise tells you that someone appreciates the result. None of these, by itself, tells you whether your capacity is being directed toward the contribution for which you should accept responsibility. Recognition can confirm usefulness while leaving assignment unresolved. An organization may reward what you do well because it solves an immediate problem. That is evidence of competence, and competence matters. But the ability being rewarded may not be the deepest or most responsible use of your capacity. You can become so effective at meeting an available demand that nobody, including you, pauses to ask whether a more important contribution is being neglected. And the longer success continues, the more expensive that question feels. Your household may depend on the income. Your identity may be attached to the title. Colleagues may rely on your reliability. Years of effort may stand behind your reputation. Honest evaluation can begin to feel like ingratitude, disloyalty, or betrayal. This is why discernment must be sober, not romantic. We are not celebrating disruption for its own sake. We are not pretending obligations disappear because a new possibility feels exciting. You are examining direction, not escaping responsibility. An available opportunity asks, "Can you do this?" Gifting asks, "What capacity do you repeatedly demonstrate?" Assignment presses further. Why should this be done? Whom will it serve? And are you responsible to direct your capacity there? Ability may qualify you for many opportunities. Responsibility will narrow the field. Imagine a high-performing manager who is repeatedly praised for containing crises. When confusion rises, this person brings calm, coordinates people, and restores order. The organization keeps rewarding that performance, so more emergencies are assigned. Yet the manager's attention continually returns to a different contribution, designing procedures, training teams, and correcting the conditions that keep producing the crises. Now, that hypothetical story does not prove the manager's assignment. Interest is not sufficient evidence, but it reveals the principle. A system may celebrate your ability to manage recurring damage while overlooking your capacity to prevent it. What earns applause may be genuine competence without being the best direction of that competence. So examine the incentives around your present role. What makes it difficult to question? Is it money? Status, familiarity, fear of losing security, loyalty to people who trusted you, or the applause that has become part of how you recognize yourself. Do not reject these influences. Name them. You cannot evaluate success clearly while pretending its rewards have no power over you. Nor should you discard achievement merely because it is incomplete. Success proves that something is working. It does not automatically prove that the right contribution is being made. External rewards have given us evidence, but not a verdict. Now the audit must turn inward, beginning with energy not as an infallible command, but as a pattern to examine alongside workload, health, growth, support, and responsibility. Begin with time, not mood. A difficult Tuesday can make an entire life appear mistaken. One encouraging afternoon can make an ordinary task appear destined. Neither moment is sufficient. Examine the last 4 to 6 weeks, because patterns require more than one emotional witness. Take a page and make 2 lists. On the first, record the activities that leave you with depleted fatigue. This is not merely tiredness. It is effort followed by emptiness, detachment, or a repeated sense that your attention has been spent without meaningful engagement. On the second, record the activities that leave you meaningfully tired. These may demand concentration, patience, courage, or sacrifice. Yet some engagement remains. You finish needing rest, but also carrying satisfaction that something worthwhile was attempted or served. Notice the distinction. Fatigue does not always mean depletion, and energy does not always mean excitement. Now examine the context before interpreting the lists. How has your sleep been? Has your health changed? Is the workload reasonable? Are you carrying unresolved conflict? Do you understand what is expected of you? Are the working conditions damaging your ability to function well? A person deprived of rest may feel depleted by everything. A person facing constant ambiguity may lose energy in work that would otherwise be meaningful. A person without adequate support may mistake unsustainable conditions for evidence of misassignment. This is very important. Correct the obvious distortions before drawing conclusions about direction. Your feelings deserve attention, but they do not deserve unchecked authority. The E12 response tells us that audiences recognize the connection between drift and exhaustion. That recognition makes this audit relevant. It does not establish the cause of any individual's fatigue. A shared response can identify a question worth asking. It cannot diagnose your sleep, your health, your workplace, or your assignment. And do not confuse energizing work with easy work. Work can be pleasant because it requires little from you. That is ease, not necessarily alignment. A genuine assignment may be strenuous, repetitive, inconvenient, and costly. The better question is not, did this make me tired? Ask, what kind of tiredness followed and what remained when the effort was over? Then move beneath the job title. When did your attention awaken? Was it around a certain problem? A particular group of people? The beginning of a project, when possibilities had to be clarified. The middle, when disorder had to be organized. The end, when details had to be completed. Did energy rise when you taught, solved, coordinated, repaired, encouraged, investigated, or accepted responsibility for an outcome? Titles conceal these distinctions. 2 people can hold the same position while becoming engaged by entirely different contributions. Now write 1 provisional sentence. My energy appears to increase when I contribute by doing this kind of work for these kinds of people. Underline the word appears. This is a clue, not a conclusion. Keep the statement available for comparison with recurring problems, demonstrated competence, and meaningful contribution. Energy shows where attention awakens. The next question is, what problem keeps calling that attention back? Follow the pattern outward. Your energy statement suggests how you may engage. Recurring concern suggests where that engagement may become service. Assignment does not exist merely to provide personal expression. It directs capacity toward a human need. Ask yourself, what problem do I notice before anyone mentions it? What condition continues troubling me after the conversation has ended? What difficulty do other people accept as normal that I keep examining, questioning, or trying to understand? Now be careful. Repeated annoyance is not automatically responsibility. Complaint asks, Why has nobody fixed this? Contribution asks, what could responsible help look like, and what part am I prepared to carry? The first can remain comfortably critical. The second begins to study the people affected, the obstacle involved, and the cost of becoming useful. Write this down. Concern becomes evidence only when it matures into service. Trace the concern across settings. Look at your employment, your household, your community, and earlier seasons of your life. Job titles may change while the same problem keeps appearing. Perhaps you repeatedly notice that people cannot understand a process, access helpful information, coordinate a necessary task, recover from disorder, or move from intention to action. Do not rush to name this destiny. Look for recurrence. And test the concern for vanity. Are you attracted to the problem or merely attracted to the image of being associated with its solution? Many causes look impressive from a distance. Their actual work may involve preparation, listening, correction, repetition, follow-up, administration, and serving people who may never applaud you. Visible impact attracts admiration. Responsible service accepts the hidden labor that makes impact possible. Consider a composite illustration, not factual evidence, but a picture of the pattern. Imagine someone who repeatedly finds themselves translating confusing processes. At work, colleagues seek them out when instructions are unclear. In the neighborhood, they help people understand unfamiliar procedures. Within the family, they turn complicated information into practical next steps. The settings differ, the titles differ, yet the contribution remains recognizable, reducing confusion so people can act with greater understanding. That illustration does not prove assignment. It only shows how a stable concern can travel through unrelated roles. The question is whether your own pattern persists beyond inconvenience, trend, or temporary emotion. Now make it specific. Who is affected? What obstacle are they facing? What change would you responsibly help create? I care about people is too broad. I want to make a difference is sincere but unusable. Compassion becomes actionable when it can identify whom it sees, what it sees, and what better condition it is willing to help build. Write this cautious statement. I repeatedly notice this obstacle among these people and feel responsible to explore a useful response. Do not write, this is my destiny. You do not yet have enough evidence. Place this problem statement beside your provisional energy statement. Do they begin to converge around the same people, need, or form of contribution? Hold the answer without forcing a career conclusion. A burden may identify where contribution is needed, but concern alone cannot carry responsibility. The next question is whether you possess or are willing to develop the competence that this service requires. So answer the recurring problem with a question of stewardship. What capacity can you actually bring to it? A gift is capacity. Competence is capacity developed enough to produce reliable value. Gift tells us what may be possible. Competence tells us what can presently be trusted. That distinction matters because good intentions do not protect the people you intend to serve from careless execution. Concern without capacity becomes frustration. Capacity without development can become harm. Now reject two distortions. The first is ego. I believe I am gifted, therefore I am qualified. Confidence is not evidence. Desire is not evidence. A flattering description of yourself is not evidence. The second distortion is false humility. I should never acknowledge what I do well. That also corrupts the audit. If people repeatedly benefit from your work, if responsibility is consistently placed in your hands, and if credible observers recognize a strength, denying it is not modesty. It is inaccurate accounting. Write this down. Honest confidence recognizes capacity. Teachability submits capacity to development. Look for observable indicators. What results have you produced more than once? What responsibilities do others repeatedly entrust to you? What skills have you learned with unusual depth or speed? What patterns appear in feedback from people who understand the work and are willing to tell you the truth? Credible feedback is not random applause. Praise may reflect affection, politeness, or one successful moment. Evidence becomes stronger when it comes from informed people, appears across settings, and corresponds with actual results. Then separate enjoyment from ability. You may love an activity and still perform it poorly. Love can motivate practice, but enthusiasm does not remove the need for standards. You may also perform something well and no longer believe it represents your best contribution. Ability proves that you can produce value. It does not decide where that ability should be directed. And separate ability from maturity. Can people rely on your judgment? Can you receive correction without becoming defensive? Can you collaborate when you are not in control? Can you remain disciplined after the excitement disappears? Assignment requires more than talent on display. It requires capacity that has become trustworthy in service. Now ask the development question. Before this capacity can responsibly serve the people named in your problem statement, what must be strengthened? Training, repeated practice, character, teamwork, technical knowledge, supervision. Patience. The gap is not an insult. The gap is an instruction. Draw 4 columns. Write. Demonstrated strength. Supporting evidence. Development gap. And next practice. Under demonstrated strength, name the capacity plainly. Under supporting evidence, record results, entrusted responsibilities, learned skills, and credible feedback. Under development gap, identify what presently limits trust. Under next practice, choose the specific discipline that would increase reliability. Do not make the matrix impressive. Make it true. Then place it beside your energy statement and your problem statement. Does the work that engages you address the concern that persists? Do you possess evidence of relevant capacity? Where competence is incomplete, are you willing to accept the development required? Look for convergence, not a dramatic sign. One feeling can mislead you. One compliment can flatter you. One successful result can be accidental. But recurring engagement, persistent concern, demonstrated capacity, and disciplined development begin to form a pattern worthy of further testing. You now have a grounded picture of strength and gap, possibility and present trust. But capacity becomes meaningful only when its use improves something for someone. So the decisive question is not merely, what can I do? It is, who benefits and what becomes better because I did it? Contribution is a specific improvement made for identifiable people through responsibly applied capacity, not merely activity, not visibility, not the satisfaction of being needed. Contribution names who receives the value, what condition improves, and how your capacity helps produce that improvement. Now bring the audit together. You have a statement about sustained engagement. You have named a recurring problem. You have examined demonstrated strength, development gaps, and the practices required to become dependable. Add the final statement. When I responsibly apply this capacity, these people are helped to move from this condition toward this better condition. That is your assignment hypothesis. It is not yet a verdict. Test it for convergence. Does this direction hold your engagement beyond a passing mood? Does it address a problem that has repeatedly commanded responsible attention? Do you possess relevant competence or a credible path for developing it? Can you identify the beneficiaries without hiding behind vague language? Is the improvement valuable enough to justify the cost required to pursue it? Write this down. Assignment is the convergence of capacity, responsibility, people, problem, and contribution, not the intensity of a feeling. This answers our governing question. Difficult work may still be right. It may involve fear because responsibility is increasing. It may require sacrifice because meaningful service consumes time and resources. Progress may be slow. Much of the labor may remain unseen, yet the evidence remains coherent. The people are identifiable, the need is real, the capacity is relevant, and the intended improvement is worth disciplined effort. An impressive distraction operates differently. It may offer visibility, money, novelty, access, or proof that you have arrived. None of those benefits is automatically wrong, but ask what happens to the pattern. Does the opportunity deepen the emerging contribution or fragment it? Does it direct your capacity toward people you can name or merely toward an image you want to possess? Does it solve a meaningful problem or only satisfy the desire to appear important? Shiny is not wrong because it shines. It is wrong when its attractiveness substitutes for coherence. Now, apply the responsibility gates. Is the direction ethical? Does it honor existing commitments? What are the financial realities? How will dependence be affected? What counsel have informed candid people offered? Is the timing responsible? A possible assignment does not authorize deception, neglect, avoidable instability, or the abandonment of people who presently rely on you. Responsibility cannot be discovered through irresponsibility, and reject every single sign method. Excitement can mislead. Hardship can mislead. Opportunity can mislead. Praise can mislead. Even sacrifice can mislead, because suffering does not automatically make a decision noble. No isolated indicator carries the weight of assignment. Take one page and make 3 columns. Present role, new opportunity, emerging assignment hypothesis. Compare all 3 under the same criteria: sustained engagement, recurring problem, relevant competence, identifiable beneficiaries, intended improvement, necessary cost, ethical integrity, obligations, finances, counsel, and timing. Do not ask which column looks most impressive. Ask which one holds together under examination. If the emerging hypothesis shows the strongest responsible convergence, clarity has given you something more serious than inspiration. It has given you a direction to test, but testing does not require a dramatic announcement or an impulsive resignation. The next discipline is to design a limited experiment that can produce evidence while preserving necessary responsibilities. So ask the practical question: what can you test before anything irreversible is changed? Clarity about contribution does not automatically authorize resignation, relocation, major investment, or public announcement. Direction is not permission for disruption. You may have identified a pattern worth pursuing, but pursuit must now produce evidence. The safest next step is often not a leap. It is a bounded experiment. Discipline is the bridge between undeveloped potential and fulfilled purpose. The E6 response shows that this framing has drawn substantial audience engagement. That makes the principle worth examining. It does not prove your particular hypothesis. Your evidence must come through faithful practice and evaluated contribution. In other words, purpose that cannot survive a schedule is still only an idea. Design a 90-day experiment small enough to coexist with your present responsibilities. Choose the form that fits the hypothesis. A pilot service, a defined project, a volunteer role, a prototype, a short teaching series, a process improvement, or a supervised apprenticeship. Do not attempt to prove your whole future in 3 months. Test one meaningful claim about your capacity and its contribution. Before beginning, define 5 things. Who will this serve? What specific improvement are you trying to produce? What capacity are you testing? How much time and money may be invested? What boundaries will protect your employment, household, health, dependence, and existing commitments? Those boundaries are not enemies of purpose. They are part of the evidence. If the experiment can proceed only through secrecy, neglect, uncontrolled spending, or promises you cannot keep, the design is already defective. Reduce the scope until it can be conducted honestly. Now put the work on a calendar. Establish a weekly practice period and protect it. Schedule a monthly review. Do not wait to feel inspired, because inspiration makes an excellent visitor and a terrible supervisor. The schedule will reveal whether the contribution can endure ordinary life, fatigue, repetition, inconvenience, and the absence of applause. Collect evidence as you proceed. Record outcomes. Did the intended condition improve? Gather beneficiary response. Did the people served experience genuine value? Seek credible feedback from someone who understands the work. Watch the consistency of your energy, not whether every session feels exciting, but whether meaningful engagement persists. Measure skill growth and observe your willingness to continue after novelty fades and hidden labor appears. Very important. Establish the decision rules before the results arrive. Continue if the contribution is valuable, the capacity is strengthening, and the boundaries remain sound. Revise if the need is real, but the method, audience, scope, or skill must change. Pause if timing, resources, health, or obligations make responsible testing impossible. Abandon the hypothesis if repeated evidence shows little benefit, poor fit, unwillingness to develop, or unacceptable cost. A failed experiment is not a failed life. It may protect you from building a career around an attractive assumption. A revised experiment may reveal that the direction was sound, but your first method was not. A confirmed experiment does not settle every future decision, but it gives you something introspection cannot. Tested contribution. Now the method must become a commitment. Write the hypothesis, the first action, the protective boundaries, the person who will hold you accountable, and the date on which you will review the evidence. Now gather the entire process onto one page. Clarity that remains scattered across notes, feelings, and conversations cannot guide a decision. It must be written in language specific enough to direct action and humble enough to accept correction. Write this sentence: I believe I am equipped to help these people address this problem by making this contribution. Do not decorate it. Name the people, name the problem, name the contribution. If the sentence cannot guide a practical act of service, it is still too vague. Beneath it, record the evidence. What pattern of work produces meaningful engagement? What problem repeatedly returns to your attention? What capacities have produced trustworthy results? What development gaps must be addressed? Who should benefit? What improvement do you expect your service to help produce? This is your one-page assignment hypothesis. It is not a declaration of certainty. It is an accountable summary of what the evidence presently suggests. Now make 3 decisions. Stop, start, and continue. Stop one distraction that consumes attention without strengthening the contribution. Start the first scheduled action in your 90-day experiment. Continue one responsibility that protects stability or already serves people well. Notice the balance. You are removing what fragments direction, beginning what tests direction, and preserving what responsibility requires. Do not begin by abandoning your employment. Begin by documenting and testing your contribution. Next, write the name of one credible person who can evaluate this with you. Choose someone capable of challenging your assumptions, observing results, and asking questions you might prefer to avoid. You need a person who will not let fear bury sound evidence or let fantasy exaggerate weak evidence. Private certainty is easily manipulated by private desire. Accountable evaluation brings your conclusions into the light. Set the review date now. At 90 days, what evidence would justify continuing? What would require revision? What weakness would call for deeper training? What result would warrant considering a larger career decision? And what result would tell you to release the hypothesis without condemning yourself? This review also helps you interpret any gap among employment, gifting, and assignment. A temporary separation may be serving, preparation, stability, recovery, or the development of competence. But when no contribution is documented, tested, or reviewed, a season can quietly become a habit. The difference is not impatience, the difference is conscious stewardship. We began with fatigue. Was it workload, conditions, health, denied rest, or misassignment? The audit may reveal one cause or several, but the goal was never merely to become less busy. The goal was to ensure that your strength is being organized around contribution. You do not need certainty before you serve. You need sufficient evidence for responsible action, discipline enough to observe the results, and humility enough to revise. Assignment becomes clearer as you document, serve, learn, and evaluate. So keep your employment where responsibility requires it. Develop your gifting until it can be trusted. Direct that capacity toward meaningful contribution. Then renew the commitment not because the entire future is proven, but because the next faithful act is clear.